I'm not here to waste your time with another production tutorial you're gonna forget an hour from now. And that's because we're gonna solve a major issue that's killing the clarity and overall loudness in your mix and master. What took me years to figure out, I'm gonna simplify for you in 3 minutes. And if you don't believe me, maybe this will help. What the fuck, Moose? I paid you 5 treats to tell him it works. In order to understand the problem, let's play a game and see how good your ears really are. Listen to this popular drum pattern, which you've probably used a million times, and see if you can figure out what's wrong. I don't get it. It sounds great. Okay then, now let's listen and look and see if you have the same reaction. You see it? I see it. Should we talk about it? Look at the volume every time kick and snare play together. Every other beat is jumping up in volume. Dynamics are good. Obviously, we want things to be louder and quieter within our song, but when things are this dynamic, this big difference between every other downbeat, this can cause major issues down the road when we begin to mix and master our music. I'm gonna let you in on a secret that actually changed everything for me, but you have to make me a promise. You need to follow everything we're gonna go through step by step, because if you do this incorrectly, it's gonna destroy your mix. So imagine this is your song, the audio waveform, and we bring this up to the threshold, which is 0 decibels, your mastered level. What is going to hit that limiter first and get squashed? These peaks, right? But notice because they stand out so far, they are gonna prevent the rest of the track from getting up to that threshold and being louder. This is a major reason why your mix and master aren't as loud as the pros. Now instead, imagine we were able to create a more balanced mix. Notice when I bring the song up to the threshold again, the entire song is getting there rather than just those first stray peaks. You want things to sound dynamic, but they don't have to necessarily be dynamic. It's time for me to show you how to solve this kick and snare problem and unlock clarity and loudness in your mix. I want you to listen and watch very carefully as I show you the before and after. Did you see the unprocessed kick and snare? How crazy is that? That volume jump was literally 3 dBs more than the rest of my mix. If you don't solve this problem, your tracks are most likely going to be quieter than the competition. We're going to break this down into 3 easy steps: how to get them clean, how to get them loud, and how to get them to work with everything else in your mix. And I'm going to add a bonus tip to this first section, which blew my mind first time I tried it. We're going to start with an EQ. This specific snare sounded very fat to me, which is cool. I wanted that. However, I don't find it to necessarily be clean when it plays on top of the kick. So what I would do in this situation is start to experiment. Can I fix that? I would try and lower the bottom part of this snare, these lower frequencies, and see if that helps. See if it makes it cleaner. Nice. I like this. Then I also found it to be a little bit boxy and muffled, and that's what this little dip is here. Next is going to be this mind-blowing tip I talked about that I'm just going to bet none of you are really doing, and it makes a world of a difference. Anytime I put a snare on top of my kick, even to be honest, a clap or a hat, what I'm going to do is try and flip the phase of that sample and see if it sounds better or worse. And all this means is it's going to flip the audio waveform upside down, which allows it to interact with the kick in just a different way. And sometimes one is just going to sound better than the other, so it's always worth a try. I personally find the version that is flipped to sound better. Now, if you didn't hear that difference, that's okay, because I'm going to help you understand this visually. Notice this is what the snare looks like on its own. Now I'm going to bring the kick back in and watch what happens to that snare shape. It almost disappears. Do you see it drop in volume? Now let's flip the phase and see what happens. Notice the snare is more consistent. We're not losing that volume. This is because the phase is interacting better with the kick and creating that more consistent, strong sound. There's less phase cancellation. Next up, let's talk about how we're going to make these loud. We need to be able to control this volume spike that's happening when they both play on top of each other. To do this, we really have 2 choices, a limiter or a clipper. Both can work, but as you can see on this graphic, they're going to produce wildly different results. But in this specific case, I have my kick and snare grouped together and they are running through a limiter. To set it up, I'm going to loop the first isolated kick, the one without the snare on top of it. I want to bring my kick peak up to that threshold, but not go above it. I'm not trying to squash my kick. I'm only trying to squash the kick and snare combination. Using this 1-to-1 button on FabFilter Pro L, this is going to just auto compensate when I increase the input volume here. It's automatically going to lower the output by the same amount, so there's no real volume change. And some limiters will just allow you to lower the threshold to your kick, which would be the same thing I'm doing here. FabFilter Pro L just doesn't allow me to do that. So what I like to do is push it above the threshold, see some reduction, then pull it back. I want to be right underneath, because now when I bring in that next beat, which is kick and snare, it's going to react and compress that volume spike. Exactly what I want. Let's put this into the whole mix now. And I'm going to even simulate a master so we can hear what the processed versus unprocessed version sounds like. Before I do though, Moose has been begging me to say this. He wants you to just drop a comment because he's the one that replies to the comments. So do me a favor, tell him how great this video was because he thinks this tip sucks. He told me this was the worst video I've ever made. Let's prove him wrong. We now understand how to clean them up and how to control their dynamics. Sadly though, we're not done because now we face an even bigger problem. We need to learn how to balance these with everything else. Think about it. There are other elements playing at the same time. For example, kick and sub. These two are so important to the overall mix, and if they're not working well together and working well with the kick and snare, we're gonna have a problem. But the fix is actually kind of easy, and it starts with me just showing you the likely reason why your kick and bass aren't working and why they're not sounding like the pros. We've come far, but we do have a little further to go, so tap the video on screen so we can continue the conversation.